This podcast is dedicated to those who have found their way from fear to freedom and for those who are considering undertaking this amazing journey. This is the Courage to Be podcast, and I'm your host, Tanya Vasallo. Before we get into this episode, I want to share an amazing opportunity, my signature event, Increase Your Income and Impact, which is happening this November 7th through the 9th in Santa Fe, New Mexico. You will walk away from this 3-day in-person event shifting your mindset from not enough money to manifesting on the spot. You'll also learn how to get over your fears, own your worth, so that you can have a greater impact in the world. This event is life transforming and already filling up. And don't take my word for it, just go to our site and listen to what participants are saying. I'm gifting you an 80% discounted ticket. All you have to do is leave me a rating and review on iTunes. Take a screenshot and email us at help.thecouragetobe@gmail.com and type event discount to claim your discounted ticket. You can also find that email in our show notes. I look forward to being your mentor and guide and transforming your life. See you in Santa Fe. Welcome back to The Courage to Be, where we have powerful conversations to transform your life and your business. And we're here with Nancy Juetten today. Welcome, Nancy.
Thank you. It's so good to be here.
I am thrilled to have you here. We were just jabbing and talking a little bit before the podcast. And I'm like, no, let's hit record because I'm going to miss some of these things, these gems that we have. So tell us a little bit about where you're at in your journey. What is it that you do, for business, but for life too, because that's part of your mantra, right? Love your life, love your business, love your business, love your life. Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you've arrived to where you're at right now.
Well, thank you. It's funny how your entrepreneurial journey can start by accident. And that is kind of what happened with me. I was a publicist for many years, and I just had a talent with words and whipping up bios and brilliant ways to introduce people. And then when the Great Recession of 2008 happened, my PR firm fell on really hard times, and I was like wringing my hands. What am I going to do to make money in this difficult economy? And so I rolled up my sleeves and I took a dare from a friend and I wrote a book called Bye Bye Boring Bio. And it ultimately became this magic carpet that I could ride to build my reputation as someone who could help transform boring bios from wallpaper to wow, so clients could attract clients, speaking gigs, and media interviews now. And it basically helped me save the bacon at the time that I needed to bring it home in a pan. And so I really was sort of an accidental entrepreneur. I had the PR firm. It fell apart. I had to find another way to pivot very quickly. I figured, what the heck, I'll write this book. And the book ended up taking me places I never thought I'd go. And over the years, I've helped experts, authors, and speakers create speaker sheets and media one sheets and door opening introductions to help them step up to bigger stages and amplify their voices. And that's all been really, really fun. And you could say that I'm kind of a specialist in this area. But in the last couple of years, because of some pivots in my personal life that I'm sure we'll talk about, I've stepped into a bigger role as the leader of the Love Your Business, Love Your Life Inner Circle. And this is an intimate cohort of online entrepreneurs who work in a similar audience, but in complementary ways. And we advocate, support, and champion each other both in business and in life. And it's turned out to be among the most rewarding steps I've ever taken to grow my business in a way that feels incredibly rewarding and fulfilling and transformational.
So let's go deeper into that, Nancy. Thank you for sharing and giving us a little bit of the bigger view. I feel like when we set business goals, like you were talking about, you fell into entrepreneurship by chance. That takes courage right there, like saying, okay, yes, I'll move forward. And you said that some personal things happened to you. Could you share with us? Because I feel like we're very driven, business goals, goals, goals. What about on a personal level? Because you're talking about love your business, love your life. How do we merge both of these and how do we pay attention to both instead of like the balance being the off balance, being more on one side?
Well, that's a pretty big question. And I would say that wake-up calls cross our paths in all kinds of ways, and it's usually unexpected. And I just got myself one heck of a wake-up call, because what happened was, it was about May of 2022, And I was like many online entrepreneurs planning the next 5-day challenge where there were going to be 1,500 people signing up and showing up to participate in the next podcast visibility live lab. And I had all the joint venture partners lined up, and I had all the interviews lined up, and I had all the things I was going to do to create all this awesomeness. And about a week before this thing was supposed to start, I had a very somber experience with my doctor. And there were a whole series of problems that came up, and one of them happened to be breast cancer. And it was like, well, okay, that's not something I was planning on or expecting. And so it was quite confronting. And I asked myself, do I see through the commitment that I made to see through this campaign like a true professional? Or do I roll up into a ball and do the ugly cry and consider what next is on the horizon for myself? And as it turned out, I decided to stand and deliver and do my thing and enroll people into the thing that I wanted them to do, and to show up and be the brilliant professional that I've always been. And what I would tell you is that navigating a journey with breast cancer that includes multiple surgeries, 20 rounds of radiation, and the fear and the anxiety that goes on between your ears about whether or not you're going to get to come back to do the work you love to do. I mean, there's just something very powerful about that. So when I came back, I mean, I didn't tell my clients that I was sick. I decided to keep it a secret and to navigate the journey with a very close, intimate circle of my husband and my sister and a very dear friend. But when I came through all of it, and thankfully I'm well now, I was just profoundly changed by that experience. And what I would say is that there are many entrepreneurs, maybe some of them that you know, that they are working all the time and set no boundaries around their work time versus their personal time. And they may be making tons of money, but they're not happy and they're not healthy. And I came out of that difficult, dark period with the idea that I want to love my business and my life, because one without the other isn't good enough. And I have just been deliberately building that kind of a life in the aftermath of what turned out to be perhaps one of the greatest blessings. We all get wake-up calls to do. If you get the wake-up call and you listen, you have the chance to be the architect of the best and next stage of your life. And I think that's really what I decided to do. And I hope that others who have wake-up calls decide to do that too.
Yeah, that's powerful. And so were you happy that you didn't share with your clients, that you just kept it intimate with your family and your small circle, or would you have done it differently?
I think I made the right decision for myself in the moment where I was making that decision. I think it's a really, gosh, it's such a hard question to answer, but I was so lonely going through this. I was just very lonely, and I didn't want to broadcast to the world that I was sick and have all these empty prayer hands and comments thinking of you during your illness. Sometimes when people post that they're sick, they get these really disingenuous comments about, oh, I'm thinking of you. Oh, I'm thinking of you. But they're not really thinking of you. And they'll say, hey, you've got this. You'll get over it. It's like, no, I think if 3 words I hate more than any other, it's you've got this. Because no, you probably don't. I mean, when you're going through something difficult, you don't have it. And you need to have close people around you to support you in doing the best you can with what you're facing. And so, no, I don't regret that I didn't tell anyone. But what I did do, I was leading something at the time called the Broadcast Your Brilliance Bootcamp, where we were guiding people to book themselves on top podcasts without hiring an expensive booking agency. And I was holding their feet to the fire to follow my systems so that they could succeed and book 12 podcasts in 12 weeks. And I enrolled all the people into this program. And the neat thing about doing a weekly call is that you do your weekly call on Wednesday, and then you have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to do treatment and recovery. So you can come back the next Wednesday and be brilliant again, and then do the same cycle. So I thought, oh, this is so crafty of me. I can organize my treatment and recovery around a schedule of calls. But on the very last day of the 12-week session, I said to my clients, I said, I feel that I owe you an explanation, or I need to come clean. I've been contending with something deeply personal, and I want to let you know about it. And as it turned out, they were so delighted with how I went above and beyond the call to support them in every possible way that same day they sent me this amazing crystal award about going the extra mile to ensure the building of a great community full of successful people. And I thought, I think it was one of my proudest and most emotional moments, because I thought, I was really glad that I had my business to focus on and prioritize my mindset around during this journey that I had, because it prevented me from wallowing in self-pity and brought me into a place where I just wanted people to succeed. And the fact that they didn't even know that I was sick, and they thought that I was like above and beyond the best leader of a group that they felt called to have a custom award made in my honor. I thought, okay, I guess this has been a blessing in more ways than I can count. And I'm going to be grateful for that. And I'm going to build on that as I move along.
That is amazing, Nancy. And it just says so much about your character too, like from the diagnosis moment and still delivering to all those clients and being professional and just, this is what I promised. And you could have chosen, I think other people in that same situation. And it's not to judge, that one's right or wrong, but I really do commend you for your, like just being there for your people, like your commitment, and the little that I'm getting to know you. And
What was really neat about it is that I don't know if anyone else, you've probably met people on your show that have said, oh, I've got imposter disease, or I'm a people pleaser, or I overgive, or, people will admit that they have these problems. And, I suppose I've had those problems too. And what I remember about this particular group is that we got so close because they were sharing why they wanted to raise their voices and make their impact as podcast guests, and the deep-seated personal reasons why it was so crucial for them to do it. And then also why now or never became so important to them. And so as we got really close towards the end, I had to source some courage. And I remember saying to them, for all these years, I have been teaching very practical, tactical how-to strategies that have really helped people in very specific ways. And I feel called to lead a group that's having a deeper conversation. And it feels like all of us have grown so close during this time together. I'm wondering if y'all would like to come along for the next iteration of where I'm going in my business. And at the time, I called it Nancy's Inner Circle of Awesome. And I said, this is what I have in mind. This is what it's going to be about. It's going to be intimate, connected, powerful. And would you like to stay with me? And like 90% of the people took the leap and stayed with me. And that was the beginning of what the Love Your Business, Love Your Life Inner Circle started to bloom. And this last year, when people had an opportunity to renew, like 80% of the people renewed because they were having such a fabulous experience. Because people, do they need help with the how-to and the specifics and the things that are in my wheelhouse? Yes, of course. And I'm very generous in delivering the wow for them in these specific ways. But there's so much more to talk about and more to explore. And we have that space to do it and the safety in which to do it. And it's just been really rewarding and satisfying to have people make the leap. And I bring this up for one particular reason, which is we have to decide what kind of business we want. Are we building an empire, or are we building an intimate boutique business that's highly profitable, where we have deep connections with awesome people? Like, what is it for you? And for me, coming out of my particular health issue, I was just very clear that building an empire has never, ever been my desire. And I am unapologetically building an intimate, connected, highly profitable, highly of service boutique business where I'm in relationship with awesome individuals who want to be in relationship with me. And it's just really great to get clear about that. And so you don't have to have millions of people coming to your webinar to have a successful, profitable business. You just have the right people on the bus and travel together doing the right things, you'll do fine. And so that's been a real blessing. And it took some courage because, sometimes people will say, oh, you're not playing a big enough game. You know what? The rest of my life is the best of my life. And I don't want my business to take over. I want my business to have a proper place in the whole thing, but not to be overwhelming in its emphasis. love my business, love my life. One without the other isn't good enough.
Yeah, this is fabulous of how you've explained it, Nancy. Let's take a quick pause and we'll be right back. I want to share an amazing opportunity with you, my signature event, Increase Your Income and Impact, which is happening this November 7th through the 9th in person in Santa Fe, New Mexico. You will walk away from these 3 days shifting your mindset from not enough money to manifesting on the spot. You'll also learn how to get over your fears and unworthiness so that you can have a greater impact on the world. These in-person events are life transforming. Just listen to what one of our participants has to say.
Hello, my name is Ariana, and I came here to learn how to increase my impact and income. Both of those sounded like great opportunities. And I've actually gotten so much more than that. Now with Tanya's help, I'm able to see them so clearly. And I recommend to anyone who's on the fence about coming, or, if you might be able to find the time, just know you're never going to find the time. You're never going to have the time to make this happen for you, but until you actually make it happen. So take that time, no matter what you've got going on. This is worth it, because you're going to, instead of be, as one of the women shared in class, instead of running around the mountain, you're actually going to be climbing up it and succeeding. There's so much to do in the upward direction. So thank you for your time. I'm so happy to be here, and I look forward to you being here one day too.
If you found this inspiring, if you'd like to join us in Santa Fe, New Mexico this November, I'm gifting you an 80% discounted ticket. All you have to do is leave me a rating and a review on iTunes, take a screenshot, and email us at help.thecouragetobe@gmail.com and type in event discount to claim your discounted ticket. You can find that email in our show notes, as well as the website to our event. I look forward to being your mentor and guide to transform your life. See you in Santa Fe. So you were talking about how you've set up your business now and gaining, it came through that wake-up call. There were certain steps, right? Wake-up call, you were able to do that class, 12 weeks, then you came clean with your people and they're like, oh my God, thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing with us and going the extra mile. Then they wanted to sign up to the next thing. So would you recommend for anyone that is building, so let's do it from both places, from the entrepreneur's perspective, would you say that one of the first questions is ask yourself the question of what kind of business do you want to set up? Because I think sometimes we see all these shiny, bright objects, but also the flip side, I want you to answer to both of these questions of like, how would you approach someone, because maybe someone's not an entrepreneur, they're working at a job, and how can they love their life and the work that they're doing? So what would be some tips for you from both perspectives?
That's such a good question. And so I'll say this, there are a lot of people that had very successful corporate careers that for whatever reason, they found themselves outsourced and needing to make a living doing something. And maybe their answer to that was, I'm going to hang out my shingle and become an expert in A, B, C, D, or E. That's great. That's what happened to me. I made a deliberate choice to leave corporate America to start something of my own because I had a baby and I wanted to have a life with my young family. But what I remember back in the day is that there's so many gurus lining up and saying, this is the method that I followed to make $1 million in 20 minutes. This is the method I followed to fill my events so that I could have a $250,000 weekend. This is the thing that I set up to do blah, blah, blah. And so when you're new and your eyes are wide and you're thinking, oh my gosh, $250,000 in a weekend, I'm all in. So one of my tips would be, do you actually see yourself loving the idea of filling a room, leading a room, enrolling people into something and delivering for the next year on that promise? Because maybe you're an introvert, maybe holding a room on your own for 3 days is the last thing that you would ever choose to do. Don't let the dollar signs determine how best to use your gifts. Think about your gifts and how you can best deploy them so that you can love the journey as well as the destination. I think that would be my advice.
That is wonderful advice. I love that because I do feel like we all get caught up with the next shiny bright object, And so I want to go back a little bit where you were talking before about imposter syndrome and, overgivers. What do you have to say about it? Like, what's been your encounter with imposter syndrome and your journey with your clients or mentors that you might have had? How has that been for you?
Well, there's a couple of things that I want to say that were in direct relationship to facing a life-threatening illness is, when you're facing a life-threatening illness, the number one thing on your mind is not how can I be the number one leaderboard topping angel on the latest JV leaderboard. It is not how you can drive 2,000 people to opt in for your next challenge. These are not the things that cross your mind. The things that cross your mind is, will I get to keep my breast? Will I get to keep my life? And so when I came out of all of this and I had people saying, well, won't you promote me for this? And I'd say, thank you so much. I'm overcommitted and I'll have to pass. You learn how to say no, and you don't worry so much about what they're going to say because you're putting yourself on the list. And you get very discerning about who you want to hang out with, who you want to play with, and who you want to do business with. And that means I joke that my velvet boot of accountability got a much sharper edge in the aftermath of this illness because I just don't have patience or time to deal with things that don't feel aligned or congruent with what it is I'm here to do. I don't owe anybody any favors. I don't have to bend over backwards to take care of ABC because you asked me at the 11th hour. I put myself on the list. And so I think that when wake up calls come, if you have people pleasing as a challenge, pretty soon you get over it because you have to make sure you save your life. You're not obligated to joint venture with everyone who asks. You don't have to participate in every summit to which you are invited. You can say, I'm playing a different game and I'm okay with that, and do so unapologetically. And I think that's okay. I think that we have to be the change we want to see in the world. And I'm not trying to compare myself to anybody else, but I think I'm a lot truer to myself now. I'm a lot more confident in my own skin. I'm a lot more convicted in the direction that I'm headed. And I wouldn't have gotten to this level of clarity if not for having had my path crossed by a black cat that really caused me to really think this stuff through. And so I come out of it being happily married to my husband of 37 years. And we think to ourselves, this is the time in life to put more life in our years. We want to run for the roses and not hang out at the merry-go-round. Let's run for the roses and make things happen now because we don't have any promise that tomorrow is coming. So we might as well do the best we can with what it is today. And that means being true to yourself, saying no, not people pleasing, putting yourself on the list, living in a congruence with your deepest held values that matter most to you. When you live in alignment with your values, you don't ever have anything to apologize for.
This is beautiful. And it seems like these were some of the gifts that you got out of this wake up call, which are great gifts. And it's reminding me of an earlier episode. If you're listening to this and you find it interested in, maybe I could connect you and Jessa de la Morin. I think it's at the beginning episodes, like 9 or 10, and how she also got I don't think it was breast cancer. It was a different type of cancer. But from that, one of the gifts that she did is started advocating for herself. And she started this app that's called, I'm missing the name of it right now. You are your own hero, something, become your own hero, I think is what it was. And so these were gifts that you guys got. And it's almost like, are you ladies got? There's a sense of, do we need to have these wake up calls in order to have the clarity? Or what would you say to someone that hasn't had a wake up call to start living their life like now, because they could have the wake up call tomorrow?
Truer words have never been spoken, I mean, I think, gosh, it's such a big idea, but merry-go-round, run for the roses. We all have a decision to make. So I'll offer an example. Sometimes, I mean, as I mentioned earlier in the call, I've helped people transform their boring bios from wallpaper to wow to attract clients, speaking gigs, and media interviews now. I've done that for decades and I'm really good at it. And when someone says, well, I've made a draft, but I can't quite get it complete. Can you kick it to the finish line? And then I'll follow up and say, well, how's that coming along? And they'll say, well, I'm letting other things take precedence. I'm letting other things take precedence. It's like, either you want it or you don't. Like, make a decision. What do you want? And go get it. We all have to take 100% responsibility for our lives. And so take 100% responsibility. Like, finish what you start. If you've got a vision board that says you want to accomplish A, B, and C, go get it. But what are you waiting for? Like, what is the delay? I don't know. I don't have a lot of patience for people that hang around at the merry-go-round.
I hear you. Do you think maybe that delay is fear, like people, and that's where they have to tap into their courageous side?
Well, I think that when you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. I think it was Jonathan Bach that said that. Oh, I'm not ready. Oh, the timing's not right. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not whatever enough. Like, if you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. Why not you? Why not now? Why not make it happen? Like, why not? Why not? Like, I feel that at a level of conviction that I never would have appreciated before. And so don't wait for a black cat. I mean, today, as we look at the calendar, it's October 1st and there's all kinds of ghouls and goblins and people are getting ready for Halloween. Don't wait for a black cat to cross your path to make your life and your business exactly what you dream they could be. That's all.
That's so perfectly said, and just a reminder, what would you have told your pre-diagnosis self? Because you're definitely not the same person as
no.
your, like you're saying, now you're seeing your business and your life. And in a way, you can say that you're grateful for the wake-up call. But what advice would you have given pre-diagnosis Nancy?
Oh, goodness, you asked such really good questions. Gosh, I'm speechless because I'm not exactly sure what advice I would share. I think that to be just your girlfriend or a person that you've met today for the first time, we work, we live, there's so much of that. But look around on the people that you're hanging out with. And are the people that you're hanging out with people that you really love being around? Do you admire what they're accomplishing and what they're contributing? Do you feel like you're surrounded by people who lift you higher? Do you make time for hobbies, interests? Do you call your kids? Do you nurture a relationship with your spouse? If you can't have it all, like, I want it all. And so I have made different choices with my relationships. If it wasn't lifting me higher, I let it fade away. If it wasn't contributing, bless and release. But I guess that's what I would say in terms of advice is look around the people that you get to hang out with every day. Are you being lifted higher? If not, make different choices. It's never too late to make a different decision. The courage to move toward what it is that you desire is the same courage that's required to leave behind what no longer fits. So have the courage to dream into a life that you can truly love and a business that allows you to use your skills and gifts and talents in a way that's totally aligned with your passion, and don't compromise. I guess that's my advice.
There were so many golden nuggets in that one, Nancy. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I really appreciate your vulnerability and sharing with all of us now that you were ready to share your story, and how that has served you, that wake up call. I want to pivot a little bit into what we were talking about before we hit record on the button, because we were talking about you being a word wizard and not being pigeonholed into just one label, of like, I'm a copywriter, or like, we are so many different levels of different things. But because you are a word wizard and you understand, and that's just one of the parts that you have to you, and all of the AI coming along, and just where are you seeing the future for our businesses, for our creativity, as someone that You were mentioning that it's your chat GPT is your companion, like you can talk to me about it. How are you embracing AI and utilizing it as a tool and with curiosity versus like, oh my God, AI is going to come and attack us and, it's going to be the end of humanity. Let's go down that path. This is a big turn that we've had here, but I just want to touch a little bit on that. And maybe we could do a whole other episode on this.
Well, I have to say that it was a really wonderful day in November of 2023 that my PhD pursuing son said, Mom, have you heard of ChatGPT? And I hadn't heard of it. And he says, let's open it up on your computer. I know it's going to change your life. And he was so right, because as a person who has spent a fair amount of my life being a word wizard for other people, there's a very lonely journey you take with your pen or your keyboard as you craft the right words that are going to be the sales page, the opt-in page, the irresistible free gift, the whatever it is, the invitations that you're extending to your people to enroll in whatever it is that you want them to say yes to. And so you open up a vein and you pour the blood onto the page and you give your heart to this approach. And you think, is this any good? We've all done it. And what I love about ChatGPT is I can go to ChatGPT, who I talk to like a human being, and I say, hey, ChatGPT, I'm working on the next best webinar presentation where I'm going to talk about podcast guesting as the preferred way to build deep relationships with awesome icons of influence and how it's so important for building the brand. Here are 10 big ideas that I think could be part of this webinar. What would you suggest as a hot topic? And the 3 juicy takeaway points, and what would you surmise as a conclusion? Can't wait to hear what you have to say. And you hit enter. And seconds later, you get magic. ChatGPT has come up with your talk title, your 3 amazing learning points, your powerful conclusion. And then you look at it and you say, you know what, ChatGPT, you did a great job here, but I think we need to dive deeper into number 2 and add some data and proof. I found some powerful proof online about why podcast guesting is a better strategy for some people to attract premium clients than webinars. And here's what I learned. Can you weave that into the presentation? Bam, it's woven into the presentation. If you've ever struggled putting words on paper, develop a human relationship with ChatGPT. Educate ChatGPT to understand your tone of voice, your way of being, and ChatGPT will come back to you with beautiful content that will be more you than you ever thought it could be, if only you could just learn how to use it. And this applies to things like, hey, here's my boring bio that I wrote in 5 minutes. Can you figure out ways to make this remarkable, memorable, and compelling, and also make it 100 words or less written in the third person? And then you hit enter, and what do you know? Voila, there it is. And then maybe it comes back and you say, oh, ChatGPT, really nice job, but it sounds a little bit too braggadocious for my style. Can you make this a little more relatable and more plain spoken so it will be even more appealing to the people I most want to attract, which are people like this? And then you say, thank you very much. And bam, the whole thing comes back and you think, oh my God, I didn't know how much faster, easier, or more fun it could be. And oh, by the way, even though you're working by yourself, you're not going it alone, because ChatGPT is like your constant companion as long as you use her in that manner to allow your work to go from good to great. Those are just
I
I do it.
Yeah, I love it, Nancy. Here's what I'm picking up from what you're saying. I love that you are open to it. I love that you're curious, because I feel like a lot of people have been threatened by it. It's like, oh, well, all the photographers will lose their jobs, all the designers will lose their jobs, all the copywriters will lose their job. Like it's just all about like all the jobs we will lose, versus well, what about let's turn it around? Here we have someone that's a word wizard and that you're just curious and you're like, oh my God, let's play together. Let's figure it
Yes.
out, and let's
Well,
do
okay, so let's
something.
talk about this for a minute, because if you want to love your business and love your life, it means you need to put your time and effort towards things that will be fruitful for you. And so if you are the kind of person that toils and troubles and perseverates to write 2 paragraphs to save your life, you have wasted valuable time worrying and perseverating about something that could be done faster and easier and be made more fun if you would just embrace something that's available on your computer right this very minute. And I'm not saying that you should rely and go with the first iteration that comes forth from any of these AI methods. But if you really put your best effort draft forward first and you put heart and smarts and moxie into it, and you said, I could use a different perspective. What would you suggest that we say to make this more compelling, more crisp, and more provocative? And then she'll tell you what it would be to be that, and she'll justify and explain why it is better. And it's up to you to be the final arbiter as to whether or not you agree, because we have to have good judgment about what we're doing. And if you care about words, you care about words, and I certainly do. But I think if you want to have more free time, it's smart to avail yourself to technologies that will allow you to have more free time. And I also think, I'll be true confession, some people are saying the photographers won't have work, and I get that. But how many people do you know that have struggled with weight, don't love to go shopping, don't have time in their schedule to book a full day shoot with their local photographer, but who need a headshot for the summit that's coming up 2 weeks from now, and they don't know what to do? There are AI photography sites where you can upload some decent photos that you have on your iPhone and be delivered really beautiful headshots that are serviceable for less than $40. I think that's a real blessing to people. I actually did this not long ago. You can imagine going through cancer treatment. Your hair is not so great. Your skin's not so great. Maybe things have changed. Maybe you're not feeling like posing for a picture today. Maybe you don't want to go shopping. And those were all of the things I was contending with. And so if you go to my Facebook and you see my photo, I told people, I was very transparent and said, I don't have capacity or schedule or energy to go deal with a day at the photo shoot. So this is what I'm doing. And if you need something in a pinch, you should try it too. And it was like, I'm not lying, but hey, she did a pretty good job. She found a blouse and some earrings that I never would have chosen, that I think I might, if I found in the store, I might buy. But yeah, I'm all in on it. But use it as a force for good. Don't use it as a force for anything but good. That is my advice.
Yeah, that's so wonderfully said. I mean, me and my team, and we use all kinds of AI, from like transcriptions to ChatGPT. I mean, I was on ChatGPT as soon as it released in January because I just have that curiosity. I was like, I have to learn about this. Like, how can we use this? How can we bring it into the business? So for anyone that's not, and maybe we'll do a whole other episode as I'm listening to you, because I don't have that many close friends. I have one other close friend that I mastermind with, that we talk about, we nerd out about AI, and like the different apps and how we can become more efficient, more productive, because I feel like some people are a little bit scared of it still, or can't see the uses of it, or it's kind of like, maybe you're a photographer or you are a copywriter or something, and you're scared, like, oh my God, is it going to take my business away? I invite you to think of it from like, flip it around, like, well, maybe learn about it, embrace it, and see what you can do and how you can be creative with it. And that's what I'd love to do an episode with you, Nancy, more in depth, because I can see in you that curiosity, that creativity of how we can take it to a whole other level. But we'll reserve this and do another episode for sure. After we finish this, we'll schedule something. But for anyone that's listening, that they're thinking, yeah, well, that doesn't apply to me, because I'm a teacher, or I'm not an entrepreneur, or I'm a professional, I work at a job, like, how am I going to really use ChatGPT? Or if I start using it, maybe it's going to replace me or something. What would you say to these listeners that their mind's going into that space?
Take a more abundant approach and ask how ChatGPT can help you accomplish greater mastery and greater productivity and greater clarity in less time. We all need to be better and more masterful at whatever it is that we do, and whatever methods you pursue to accomplish that will show up in the results that you manifest for your employer, for your client, for your whoever it is that you're trying to serve. Don't be afraid. I mean, how does that serve anybody? I mean, coming from a place of fear and scarcity is just going to bring about more fear and more scarcity. Let's take an abundant mindset and use the tools that are unfolding for us. I mean, you can either embrace what's coming or you can be left behind. But I think people that are truly committed to their craft are going to do everything they can to be masterful at it. And, I don't start from a blank sheet of paper and say, create something for me. I go to work and come up with something that I think is suitable, and I ask for help to make it better. And, a lot of people today are highly leveraged and they don't have time to talk to you. And if they do have time to talk to you, they want you to fork over, lots of money in order to have a discussion about it. It's free. I mean, why not use what's available readily and become more masterful? Like I've been helping people with their bios for decades. And I have 5 important questions that I ask people to consider about themselves. Who are you? Why do you do this work that you do? What is the outcome that happens for your ideal client when you do this brilliant work? What sets you apart from other people that do this similar thing that you do? And what is it that you want people to do as a result of meeting you today? Like, those are just some of the questions I ask. But if you really go deep and answer those questions, just answer those questions and type in the answers. Dear ChatGPT, I'm trying to write a bio for myself that would really be appealing to this audience because of this important work that I do. This is what I'm going to share with you. Can you take that content and turn it into a remarkable, compelling, and provocative 50-word bio written in the third person? You will be astounded what comes back, and you'll say, wow, I sound really cool. But it's all a function of the good input that you provided. If you give it lousy input, you get lousy output. So how much better can you be at giving the good stuff to whatever resource that you are submitting to? Have a spirit of adventure. Get on the ride to the roses. I mean, either you're going to ride to the roses, you're going to hang out at the merry-go-round. And for me, there is no other choice.
Yes, yes. We're going to take a last quick pause and we'll be right back. I want to share an amazing opportunity with you. My signature event, Increase Your Income and Impact, which is happening this November 7th through the 9th in person in Santa Fe, New Mexico. You will walk away from these 3 days shifting your mindset from not enough money to manifesting on the spot. You'll also learn how to get over your fears and unworthiness so that you can have a greater impact on the world. These in-person events are life transforming. Just listen to what one of our participants has to say.
My name is Brenda Benson, and I did not know that I had a blockage with my relationship with money. I did not know that my confidence was a little on the lower side. So after having spent 3 wonderful days where I've got a chance to really examine how I feel and what probably my beliefs were that were blocking me, and that I was in my own way in thinking, and just a lot of head talk. So now I believe that everything that I touch is a success. So I'm excited that my new goal is that I am going to be helping a lot of other companies to grow their business, to empower their employees, and have time for their families and friends, but most of all, that the lives that I touch will be transformed for the better. I thank you, Tanya, because now there's nothing stopping me and there's nothing in my way, and I'm excited about all the people that I'm going to help going forward. Bye.
If you found this inspiring, if you'd like to join us in Santa Fe, New Mexico this November, I'm gifting you an 80% discounted ticket. All you have to do is leave me a rating and a review on iTunes, take a screenshot, and email us at help.thecouragetobe@gmail.com and type in event discount to claim your discounted ticket. You can find that email in our show notes as well as the website to our event. I look forward to being your mentor and guide to transform your life. See you in Santa Fe. So we were talking about ChatGPT and what's the input that you're giving it, and just let it do its magic. What would be some ideas of what you use ChatGPT for besides writing some of your bios or other things, or maybe of like things that you use it for, but you might give us some ideas of like how your sons use it or other people that you know.
Well, one of the things that I do for clients is I have something called the Get Podcast Ready with Nancy Juetten bundle, where you get the Podcast Dream Guest Mastery online course, and you also have the benefit of me writing your media one sheet for you. Now, a media one sheet includes your bio that would be host friendly. It also includes 3 hot topics, hooky hot topics that a host might find compelling and want to talk to you about. And it might also include 3 to 5 suggested interview questions that would guide the conversation in a logical way to bring the outcome that you most want to achieve during any podcast interview. So you can use ChatGPT to say, knowing what you know about Tanya, the host of the Courage to Be podcast, can you suggest 3 hooky hot topics that she would love to guest on the hot shows that she most admires? And can you also craft 3 to 5 provocative and suggested interview questions? And then you can have ChatGPT come back with what those hot hooky topics are in the interview questions, and you could refine from there. That's a really powerful way to use it, because sometimes I'll ask people, what do you want to talk about? Gosh, I don't know. I can talk about a variety of things in a variety of ways. And by the time you finish that sentence, the host is going, I don't have time to talk to someone who doesn't know what they want to talk about. What do you want to talk about? Why do you want to talk about it? And why is now the perfect time for people to be talking to you? These are really important questions.
Those are great. And for someone that's not looking to be on podcasts, you know, like maybe they're just professionals and they're, you know, like why would they want to use ChatGPT? Like what could it help them with?
Well, what if your boss says, I need you to give a presentation this Thursday on the finer points of how to solve a Rubik's Cube in 30 minutes or less. I need you to have 3 learning points and steps to take in order to accomplish that. And I need it on my desk Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Like, what if you've never solved a Rubik's Cube in your life? Like, ask ChatGPT to help you out. I mean, don't be afraid, be curious. Don't be afraid, be courageous. Don't be fearful, just be happy. Have the courage to be happy and to explore all of these available avenues that are at your fingertips to help you to be more productive, more successful, more persuasive, more compelling, and more authentically you.
This was great, Nancy. I could go on and on, but we have a limited amount of time with us today. Where can people find you?
I would love for you to go to getknowngetpaid.com, my website, and you can check out all the bounty that's waiting for you there. And if there's more for us to do together, I can't wait to talk to you.
That's fabulous. And my last question that I love asking all my guests, what can you say to our listeners so that they can live a life with more courage?
Source the courage to dream into what you're envisioning for the rest of your life, and imagine that it was already true, because it will change the way you think and the way you behave, and you'll be so much more deliberate and on point. And a year from now, when you look at your life, you're going to love what you see, and you're going to be so proud of the amazing life and business that you have created.
Thank you. That was great. Thank you so much for your time, Nancy.
Well, thanks for having me. This was a great conversation. You ask really good questions.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I take it with a big heart coming from your mouth and knowing everyone that you've spoken to and that you've been in the podcasting world. So thank you so much for that compliment.
Thank you.
If you like this episode and you'd like to feel this kind of energy live and in person, I want to share with you about my upcoming event, Increase Your Income and Impact, which is happening November 7th through the 9th in person in Santa Fe, New Mexico. You will walk away from these 3 days shifting your mindset from not enough money to manifesting on the spot. You'll also learn how to get over your fears and unworthiness so that you can have a greater impact in the world. I'll gift you an 80% discounted ticket. All you have to do is leave me a rating and review on iTunes, take a screenshot, and email us at help.thecouragetobe@gmail.com. and type in event discount to claim your discounted ticket. I look forward to being your mentor and guide to transform your life. See you in Santa Fe.